Welcome back to the Prepared Mind channel. I'm John, the host, and you guys are going to get a kick out of this. First off, I hope you really enjoyed that interview I did with Craig. Wow, what an interesting fellow. A lot of fun to have there. And if I didn't do that interview, I was going to lead off with this information that I'm going to share with you now. Right? When we say we usually talk about us, the government. We, America, but it's the government making their decisions. Right? They make all the decisions. They don't consult me, but we say we. Well, there's this old saying out there. It's what a deadly web we weave when we weave to deceive. The deception out there is phenomenal. It is incredible. The cattiness, the back and forth. What is really happening? What is the truth? What is planned? What is reactionary? I've got a Breitbart article for you. Click the link below and read it if you dare, if you wish. If you recall, last week, Trump, comes out and says, tariffs on Mexico. And then a few days later, right, Mexico comes out and says, we'll do what you say. We'll do what you want. Right? Everything's fixed. But according to this Breitbart article, Mexico actually didn't come out, or at least our mainstream media, more deception, more deceivers, they didn't tell the truth. Or they told part of the truth. Yeah, Mexico may have said, okay, we'll control the immigrants. But then they also came out and said they're holding back 250,000 migrants. So here's the article, here's the story. Mexico's top diplomats issued a veiled threat to the U.S. government, suggesting that without their efforts, 250,000 more Central American migrants could proceed north. The statement follows President Donald J. Trump's threat of raising a 5% tariff if Mexico does not strengthen its borders. Well, that was a 5% start, and then it was going to go to 10, then 15, then 20 as the year progressed, if Mexico did not get a hold of the problem. As it is, there were a bunch of articles that came out in the last few days about the overcrowding of these detention facilities that the United States government has had to put up to house these illegals that have illegally come here in a criminal manner by breaking the law. It's not that they're Mexicans or Central Americans, it's that they're criminals. That's the problem. Our holding facilities are overcrowded, and in some cases they're just letting them go. We can't deal with this, and Mexico has another 250,000, 250,000 more. And as far as I'm concerned, this was not a veiled threat. That is not a veiled threat. That is a naked threat. The use of the term veiled to me makes no sense. When you come out and say, look, right, you want to threaten us with tariffs? I've got 250,000 people that I could turn loose on you. That's not veiled. If we go into a deeper recession, depression, if we end up with trade wars and recession, depression all at the same time, Mexico is not immune to that. In fact, Mexico is in worse shape than us. Mexico can decide at the federal level and down in their states, but they just don't have the manpower to stop, because they don't have the money to pay the manpower that they don't have to stop these illegals. In other words, if Mexico quits trying, and I understand this, it could be a free-for-all invasion of the United States of America at a time when we are most weak economically. In other words, you can't fight a battle, you can't fight a war, you can't fight multiple enemies, you can't fight multiple fronts if you don't have the financing, the manpower, the money to stop this. I mean, I know for a fact that Americans, regular Americans, not law enforcement, would go out there with their ARs and their hunting rifles and just start shooting illegals coming across. But that's really not the way we want to do this, is it? Right? Thankfully, on the public side, Mexico came out and said, "Yeah, we'll try and follow your direction, President Trump. We're going to do a better job." And I know that they can't instantly do a better job. They've got to get more money, more troops, more power. They've got to have their own detention facilities. They've got to strengthen their own southern border and their own ports. Because these aren't all Central Americans. They're not. These people that are coming here are coming from around the world, and they're being shipped in and flown in to Central America, South America, and Mexico by people who want to put pressure on the United States of America. Pressure on our economy, pressure on our legal system and our immigration system, and pressure on you, the social system, our society, our culture. They want to pressure that into changing. And then if you oppose these people, then you are a racist. You believe that you're superior and that your culture and your country is superior. And we got some more news on that coming out as well. There is an incredible information war going on right now, and you guys are part of it. Believe it or not, you are part of it because you're listening to information by supporting the Prepared Mind channel and other channels. By sharing these videos, you are helping fight against censorship and an invasion of your own country. Oh, man. Quote, without these important Mexican efforts in immigration matters, the U.S. would receive 250,000 additional immigrants only in 2019, the prepared statement revealed. The veiled threat was buried in the middle of a document where Mexican officials claimed to have deported more than 80,000 migrants and arrested 400 suspected smugglers in conjunction with U.S. officials. Right? So what are they saying? Oh, it was hidden in the middle. No, it doesn't matter whether it's at the beginning, the middle, the end, whether that was the whole story or it was just a little teeny part of it. The information was in there. It was a threat. Right? We've got a serious crisis going on. But it's not just in Mexico, and it's not just with immigrants, it's not just with drugs or just with human trafficking. It's not just a problem with Democrats, it's not just a problem with radicalized Muslims, it's not just a problem with white supremacists, it's everything all wrapped up. Plus the economy, plus the monetary system, plus the financial system, plus the investment world, plus the international corporations, plus tariffs, and it's everything that is in a critical state, right? And what does it take to cause shit to hit the fan? Just one of these areas. All it takes is one of these areas that breaks loose, breaks free, right? Shit hitting the fan doesn't require everything to fail at once. It requires dominoes to start tipping. First one thing, then the next, then the next. What would happen, let's say, if Arizona, the state of Arizona, picked up 20, 30, 40,000 immigrants in a wave over a weekend? What would that do to the surrounding states? First off, what would it do to Arizona? Then what would it do to California, Nevada, New Mexico, Colorado, Utah? Right? It would cause, just the domino effect, right? It's a forest fire waiting to happen. We've got all of our potential shit hits the fan is like Tinder, and not the dating service. Tinder, it's dry. In other words, it's waiting. It's at risk. One match, right, and it all goes up. One mistake, and we could have some serious shit happen here. Right? And this is just the southern border. We have other issues in this country. But I wanted to get you this Breitbart story, and thank you, John in Fremont, for getting that to me very much. I needed the link so that you guys can read this yourself. Read the English, read the Spanish. Research it, understand. Other countries, they're not liking being told what to do and told they're going to be punished. At the same time, our country shouldn't have to suffer because they don't know how to administrate their own country, right? But what is causing everyone to go, fuck you, if you do this wrong, we're going to come after you. And then they say, fuck you too. If you do that, then we're going to do this other thing. That is tension. Tension comes from hard economic times. When everyone's got money, everyone's happy, they can get along, they can pay for what it is they need. Oh, we need to do that. Okay, we'll pay for it. You do this, you pay for it. When money gets tight, when economies start to go down, tension and pressure goes up, and we get closer and closer to conflict. Trade war is usually a preliminary occurrence that happens before a real war. Am I saying we're going to go to war with Canada and Mexico? Shooting war? Probably not, most likely not. But it certainly speaks to the level of tension and economic hardship that's going around. And this is being exacerbated by enemies of our state. These non-government organizations that are shipping these immigrants around the world, into Italy, into France, into Spain, into England, into Germany, into the United States, into Mexico, into Central America, they're enemies of the state. And they're acting accordingly, and they're using troops. And I think this might even be against the Geneva Convention. It's an act of war by an organization. Whether it's a country or not, they're now an enemy, and they need to be beaten on the battlefield, as far as I'm concerned. They're introducing enemy combatants who are not wearing proper uniforms. You cannot pretend to dress like the enemy, right? That's spying, espionage. They get shot on sight. They're afforded a different set of rules than someone who's dressed in a uniform and is identifiable as the enemy. Rules of war. They're bringing enemies of our state over here, and they're not dressed. They're spies, in other words. They're covert operatives working for people like George Soros. Understand that's the world we're living in. Get prepared. Food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine, means of self-defense. And not just if you're in California or Arizona or New Mexico or Texas. Understand you need to be prepared wherever you're at. Because this is just one threat we're talking about. And there's a lot more besides. Thank you for supporting the channel at The Prepared Mind on Patreon.com. $2 a month, piece of cake. You get this story, the next story. You get great interviews. You get big links. You guys have been great. Thank you for supporting that. And share these videos. Share them with everyone you can. Get the information out. Share the links. That's why I'm also including the links in the last couple of months on all these news stories. Share the link with your friends. Say, what do you think about this? Explain this. How can this be good for our country? Why aren't you a prepper? And get that information out. Get people thinking. Get them to understand that the threats, the risks are real. You guys be cool. Chance favors the prepared mind is yours. I'll talk to you again soon. Semper Fi. Godspeed.